Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families.
Oh boy. All right. So as far as military is concerned, if he really wanted to build why are we concerned with building up a military when we already spend more than the next 10 countries combined? What about the proxy wars in Yemen and Ukraine? We're literally also fighting a proxy war in Haiti by using Kenyan soldiers to fight against gangs as well. What about private militias like Blackwater? Remember Blackwater? That was the company that was owned by Eric Prince, and Eric Prince is the brother of Betsy DeVos, who was the former education secretary under Trump. Are we going to stop using them to destabilize countries around the world to get control of their resources and replace their heads of state with puppets for U.S. corporate control? So yesterday was the inauguration of Donald Trump. Once again, is part 2 of his presidency again into the White House, and a lot has happened over the last 24 hours. So we're going to just take a look. We're going to get into it. And yeah, let's start. So just make sure that I have my timestamps correct. And let's go. I hate when it does that. Okay. Oop. Sorry, I have it on 2 times speed. I can only stand him for so long.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson.
All right. So we see that he has just been sworn in. So let's go into this first part right here. So he starts coming in hot.
We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we're watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them.
So, as we can see from here, it looks like Donald Trump came in hot. And basically, he's taking shots at Biden and Harris for their failures of their administration while they're sitting right behind him. I mean, and now look, as regards to the healthcare aspect, this is because of profit seeking from corporations. So I'd say that unless Trump is willing to give an NHS style system, I don't want to hear anything from him. Luigi allegedly did what he did because of this purposefully exploitative healthcare system. So I have no faith that Trump will change any of that. In regards to education, children and young people, they would have more pride in their country if they were treated well by securing their material needs like housing, good schools that aren't subject to the different quality depending on your zip code, top health care that helps us all in access to healthy food, clean water, and healthy environment for us to have in the future. But will he push for that? I don't know. But let's go on to our next point. So,
people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true.
okay. So, one thing is absolutely abundantly clear. Trump received a higher percentage of the Black vote than his predecessors in years past. So then many Black Americans have put their faith in him. Let's be honest about it. Though, given his history of racism, I feel that that faith is misplaced, just as it is in Black Americans who voted for Biden. Harris also has a shoddy history with how she treated Black people in this country as well. So I think Trump wouldn't have liked Dr. King if he was still alive. Dr. King had a 75% disapproval rating right before he died. So the praise to Black people, especially the people like Dr. King, rings hollow for me. But that's pretty much all I have to say there. So let's go to our next part. So
Historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. all illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
So one of these things I just have to say is, so sending the U.S. troops to the border is something that I didn't know that a president could do, but this shows that Biden could have done so much more for us if he just, if he wasn't just tasked to be a seat warmer, right, and maintain the status quo for 4 years. This national emergency at the border is a self-inflicting wound. To be honest with you, I mean, with the destabilization of countries in Central and South America, along with crippling sanctions and devastating embargoes and sanctions, this has led to more people fleeing their countries to seek refuge here. So to me, this is just more of a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, but let's continue and finish this.
And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my...
All right, so, as far as Trump is concerned, my thing is just like, if you really wanted to fix the border, then you would just need to end the embargoes, end the crippling sanctions, like I said before, and the thing is, like, they don't have any interest in that. So the thing that's actually causing, people to flee to the border is the one thing you don't want to fix, but you just want to stop them when they get to the border, even though you're, still causing it. Like, it's like trying to fix a leaky pipe without shutting the water valve off. How do you expect to actually fix the leaking pipe if you don't shut off the water valve? Well, you got to shut off the water valve first. And the problem is that they're not willing to do that, right? Because they want the leaks to happen, because it creates a problem in order for them to say, see, I fixed it. But they don't really actually want to fix it. Biden doesn't want to fix it, and Trump really doesn't want to fix it, because if they actually wanted to fix it, then he know exactly what he would need to do. You could do things like ending the drug war would actually end or take the power away from the cartels. That's not what Trump is about, right? Trump is a con man, just like Biden's a con man. I just wish more people actually saw through it. So let's continue to the next point.
Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and That is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We're going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote.
All right. So as far as Trump is proposing here, I will say this, that Trump is really just showing us what Biden and Harris could have done, but they refused to do it. They knew full well what the powers of the presidency had, and they knew exactly what they were capable of, but they neglected to do it for the sake of the corporations. And now Trump is making them look like fools. The whole drill, baby, drill will actually be terrible for the environment, especially environmental issues that, like, for instance, climate change. And you can talk about how, oh my God, it's actually going to snow in North Florida. And how is that climate change? The thing is that it's drastic when it comes to either one extreme or the other. So we have furthering extremes in our weather conditions. But here's the thing, right? Trump will escalate climate change even more by escalating it further by pushing more for the use of fossil fuels. Now, of course, there's going to be a lot of workers that are in fossil fuel companies that they're going to hear the people wanting to transition away, and they're going to think, oh, well, you want to take my job away. But this was really the point that we were, demanding, is that you do what we call a just transition, so that you're able to give people who are in fossil fuel industries a job in renewable energy. Or also in regards to training, you can also do that, and then give them good paying jobs, free training, and you transition to as we transition to renewable resources. So also the Green New Deal would have put millions of workers to work under a federal jobs guarantee. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about. Right. But that part is key when it comes to a Green New Deal. Got to remember that the original Green New Deal came from the Green Party. The Green New Deal that was somewhat implemented, wasn't really implemented, but was proposed really by the Democratic Party, was really just a very deeply watered down version of the Green New Deal. So when it comes to that, we ain't even seen a real Green New Deal. Right. And a real Green New Deal would actually be a job boom to this country. So that's a whole nother thing. And, now the electric vehicle mandate, in regards to that was an individualistic solution to a systemic problem. First of all, most of us can't even afford an electric vehicle. I know for sure as hell, I can't even afford an electric vehicle. Hell, can I even afford a bicycle? So a lot of us couldn't afford it because it was way too expensive. How many people are actually trying to get Elon's Cybertruck? I know sure as hell I am not trying to get Elon's Cybertruck. Plus, who knows? It may self-drive me into a brick wall and, take me out. You never know. But yeah, the better option will be to have mass public transit, and it will be implemented by a mass infrastructure project that will make travel better and easier for everybody while curbing climate change. This will save Americans money on things like fuel, insurance, maintenance, and car payments. So I think that would be the better option. But of course, Trump is not going to go that route. So let me go to the next portion. Yep, right here.
I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before. To restore confidence and effectiveness to our federal government, my administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
Okay, so this part, the whole Department of Government Efficiency is hilarious to me, but tariffs are just a type of tax, right? Dr. Richard Wolff has actually explained this many times before. Tariffs are a type of tax that's placed on foreign companies in order to push citizens to buy American. The problem is that these companies will just put the cost onto the customer, and many of our products are made in other countries like China. Even then, part of the products are even made in other countries like Mexico. So the parts, you could get a part that's made in a car, but then the car price goes up because the part's made in Mexico, and then he must have put tariffs on Mexican products. So even though it's technically made in America, the parts are made in a different country. So therefore, you're still going to end up paying more. So look, here's the thing, tariffs would increase the cost, the companies would pass those costs on to people like you and me. So in the end, we're still going to get shafted no matter what. And by the way, those tariffs have continued to exist under Biden. So the tariffs started under Trump, they continued under Biden, and now they're going to continue under Trump. So tariffs have already been in place. That's something a lot of people aren't talking about. So let's continue.
After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. Something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities.
All right. So this is a big issue, the free speech issue. So I just want to harp on this really quick. So the free speech issue is big because of what happened, for instance, to groups like the Uhuru Three, right? You think about Chairman Omali Shatella, Petty Hess, and Jesse Neville. Think about what happened to people like Julian Assange, Stephen Dotzinger, people who are been silenced on multiple platforms. Also think about the TikTok issue, right? That's essentially a free speech issue. But remember that it was Trump who initially went after TikTok early on. So now he's basically playing Captain Save free speech, right? Even though he placed it in harm's way. Also, in regards to free speech, right? If he really wants to curb free speech, I am all for that. That's actually a very good thing. But what about the students in the college on college campuses that were targeted because they dared use their free speech against genocide? Are you going to be, allowing for free speech against the genocide that has continued? I think that's a worthy cause. Or what about the woman named Breonna Boston, who said on the phone to her insurance company, deny, defend, depose? Will she be freed and charges be dropped? I'm just asking, because if we're going to talk about free speech, right? Are we going to have, just like there was a Twitter files, are we going to have a YouTube files for those of us who may be throttled because of, any particular ideology that's further left than Bernie Sanders? We're going to talk about free speech. Let's talk about free speech, right? Because the thing is that, like I said to Kit earlier today, I don't have faith that Donald Trump will actually implement free speech. It will just be freer speech for people who are on the right, versus when Joe Biden was president, it was freer speech for people who are liberal. You notice I didn't say left. I said liberal, right? And so will he put his money where his mouth is? I don't know, but I would like for him to, but I don't have faith in that. So, well, let's continue.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
So this is a kind of a social red meat, but let's be real. Race and gender are actually social constructs, because these are still marginalized groups. These people still exist. Humans have come in a variety since our inception. So denying their existence by having a colorblind society won't do a damn thing unless you address the disparities and give equity to those who have been harmed. Also, if our society were merit-based, then Black Americans would own this country. Of course, after settlers stole the land from the Native Americans. And if it's all based on merit, Barron Trump wouldn't inherit a damn thing from his father and sure work for it all himself. But we know Donnie's not going to do that. If we're all about merit-based society, then why not pay freedmen from what we're owed in reparations? Donald should put his money where his mouth is. Also, the whole two genders thing is wild, because male and female are sexes. Man and woman. are genders. Gender is a social construct. But this is just culture war baiting to keep the workers divided. That's basically what it is. It does, what does a person with stubble and a dress have to do with me not being able to pay my rent or afford food? Targeting a small portion of the population is idiotic and foolish. But we all knew this was coming, didn't we?
This state any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
All right, so this about the pandemic. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet because you got to be very careful what you say about it on here. But the pandemic was handled very poorly, and we need to restore faith in our healthcare system by taking the profits out of it entirely. That's all I'm gonna say. All right.
Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families.
Oh boy. All right. So as far as military is concerned, if he really wanted to why are we concerned with building up a military when we already spend more than the next 10 countries combined? What about the proxy wars in Yemen and Ukraine? We're literally also fighting a proxy war in Haiti by using Kenyan soldiers to fight against gangs as well. What about private militias like Blackwater? Remember Blackwater? That was the company that was owned by Eric Prince, and Eric Prince is the brother of Betsy DeVos, who was the former education secretary under Trump. Are we going to stop using them to destabilize countries around the world to get control of their resources and replace their heads of state with puppets for U.S. corporate control? In regards to hostages were being released over the weekend, which I am very happy about. And I celebrate with the Palestinians because the hostages, it was a harrowing time for them. And even a lot of the hostages were minors, children. And so I'm glad to see them back with their families. And the Palestinians have been celebrating, which is good. And just to let you guys know, that's something that Biden could have enforced a year ago. He let this genocide go on for an entire year. But make no mistake, it was the Palestinian activists who made this happen. They pushed the world and moved people. If they never did, then Trump would allow this carnage to continue. By the way, the ceasefire was short-lived because some Palestinians were actually murdered yesterday, right after the inauguration. So there's so much for that.
Rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs.
Oh my God. Just knock me out already. So changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, this is stupid. Changing the name from Mount Denali back to McKinley as a slap in the face to the Koyukon people of Alaska. They're an indigenous native people who named that mountain before settlers ever came to this lands. So this shows how Trump feels about Native Americans. All right. How much more do we have on this thing? All right. Let's continue.
Many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made. And Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form. And that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal. And we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Gosh. All right. So for this point, Panama has the right to do what's on their land, whatever they choose. Who are we to force Panama to how to, use their own canal? If we actually are about the sovereignty and self-determination of other nations, then this is a drastic heel turn if I've ever seen one. Also, in regards to China, if China develop a good relationship with Panama, then that's our own fault for not keeping a good relationship with them. But in the end, when it comes to Panama, it's still their land. And also, let me ask you, how many treaties have the United States broken? Okay. Okay. Let's go. Finish up.
Our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our...
Whoa! Wait. Say that again, Donnie.
nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory.
Expands our territory. That sounds like imperialism to me. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, huh? My gosh.
Builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Oh, geez, Louise. This guy. Manifest destiny? How did that work out for the global south again? We can't even take care of our own planet, and you're talking about going to Mars? Man, this is the best money a president can buy. Elon spent good money on this man. Goodness gracious. My goodness. Well, that's the gist of all the things that Donald Trump has been proposing. And so, I definitely have my thoughts on many of those things that you guys just saw. But since then, a lot of things have taken place. And so some of the things that have taken place are pretty drastic. Donald Trump has hit the ground running. And I just want to share that as well in regards to what he has implemented so far. I want to share this first. We're going to go into this because migrants at the border are already feeling the pain from Trump presidency as of him assuming the oath of office yesterday afternoon. So let's get into this. So this is from Pop Crave. It says migrants and Ciudad Juarez react to CPB-1 being shut down by Donald Trump minutes before their appointments. So here it is. So as we can see here, there are many people who have, been trying to seek refuge within the country. And like I said before, he is trying to put a Band-Aid on a gaping wound by just closing down the border, by just deporting a whole bunch of people who are undocumented, when in reality, that's not really going to fix our issue, right? I think it was Dr. Richard Wolff when he spoke to Sabs a few weeks ago, when he said that, yeah, go ahead and deport all the people all you want. But the thing is, it's like when it comes to these essential industries that they're a part of, are they going to be able to employ Americans to go into these industries? And if they do, then a lot of these companies are, for-profit corporations. So then, of course, they're going to jack up their prices if Americans are demanding top dollar, which I'm saying that we should not be exploiting anybody, period. And so this is the whole reason for having undocumented immigrants coming into the country in the first place, because they want that exploitative labor. But the thing is that this is one of the issues, is that now you have people who are fleeing their countries because of what the United States has been doing, especially in regards to the destabilization of their countries. And now they're fleeing here. And now they're basically being put in limbo because they can't come in. Or there's a lot of people who are now being deported. So you see people now that are crying at the border and people saying, well, you guys should have came in legally. And I'm like, well, of course, that, part of that is also a financial thing, right? Because you destabilize their countries and you making them into a poorer country because they're not able to build themselves up. So now when they flee here because they're too poor and they'd rather be behind the barrel of a gun instead of being in front of a barrel of a gun, then you say, well, you guys can't come here anyway, even though they're trying to flee. And no doubt a lot of these people, they actually traversed thousands of miles just to be able to survive, some of them with their kids in tow, because it's actually more safer for them to be here and hate it than to be in your home country and be subject to violence that really was, helped caused by, U.S. foreign policy. So let me go to this as well, because this has also been happening. Some of the citizens have been noticing an uptick in ICE raids. So let me share this as well. So it's already starting. So let's get into this.
What I just saw right now with my own two eyes, I feel like what I just saw right now with my own two eyes, I feel like I think I just saw ICE pull up on immigrants and they shoved them into a van in broad daylight. My wife told me that ICE was here in Northern California, that they were in San Jose. They were just in broad daylight on Story Road, shoving people into vans. I had somebody in my car that I think she might have been undocumented, and she had her child with her. It was a pretty close encounter, to be honest. Whoever the person was orchestrating this, they looked into my eyes, and I was driving. They said, "Oh, move on past." I was being nosy, and I looked into the van, and I'm like, there's a lot of Hispanic people in there, and they were all in handcuffs, and they looked like innocent. I mean, I don't know what's going on. So, and I don't think it was a police van. I'm thinking it is immigration. I'm thinking it is ICE, but I could be wrong. It could be just me speculating. But regardless, just try to keep your loved ones, your friends, your family safe, because it's happening.
You guys, I'm not even gonna lie. These raids happening in Bakersfield are weighing super, super heavy on me today. And unfortunately, I have experienced deportation firsthand when my parents were deported when I was, I think, 12 and 13 or 13 and 14. I don't even remember. It's been so long. And that was the hardest thing I had ever gone through in my entire life. Until this day, when I think about that little girl having to say goodbye to both of her parents, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
It's 4 a.m. I can't sleep. For the last 6 hours, I have been looking at videos to make sure I can keep my family knowledgeable enough so that they know what to say if it happens.
I just want to say this: when it comes to undocumented immigrants coming into the country, really, undocumented immigrants coming to our borders is really just chickens coming home to roost, because this is the problem of the greed of corporations. That's ultimately what it's about. And so, if you're somebody that has an issue with undocumented immigrants coming here, which I know there's going to be some people who have, that thought, who are, watching. Whose fault is it? Is it the fault of the people coming across the border, or is it the fault of the people who actually destabilize their countries, who have placed sanctions and embargoes, who have kept the drug war coming up? By the way, who was selling drugs in our neighborhood by putting crack in our neighborhoods? Was it them, or was it the CIA? Right? So ultimately, who do we have to blame really for all this, right? That's why I say there's two sets of victims. There's us, and then there's the undocumented immigrants that are coming across the border, because they're also victims of U.S. imperialism as well. And this just makes me sad, because they shouldn't have to. Number one, they shouldn't have to flee to come here in the first place. They shouldn't have to resort to being undocumented. Number two, when it comes to people being here like this, especially if they came here as a DACA recipient, then it's not their fault, that they were brought here. And unfortunately, this is the home that they know. And so it's almost like I have a feeling like what's done is done. They've been citizens and they might as well just be citizens. You know what I'm saying? We could curb this by ending, the destabilization and the sanctions that we're doing in these other countries. But let me continue.
If it happens.
A lot of people don't like coming on social crying because a lot of the time it's a oh brother moment, and I get it, but very up to here with immigration right now, and especially as a DACA recipient, it's just having to like jump over. Sorry, here we go again.
Mi hijo estaba trabajando en una fábrica de hacer gabinetes. Yo quiero que por favor, si Carlos Espina me puede ayudar, ayuden a etiquetar a Carlos Eduardo Espina, por favor.
Like, is anybody else seeing these videos of these families who are being affected by these ICE raids? And like, as a child, not having your parent come home.
So this is what's been happening over the last few hours. This is an unnecessary thing that shouldn't have happened. But because of the greed of corporations wanting to exploit people, this is what happens. And then you have an uptick of people who want the undocumented immigrants gone, because of course the people who want them gone, I can't necessarily fault them for wanting it, because of course the exploitation is causing the depression of wages. And so, but at the same time, somebody's going to get exploited. In the capitalist system, somebody is going to. Anywho, I don't want to get on this tangent. So I also want to share this as well. So Trump also has paused foreign development aid for 90 days. So it says Trump pauses U.S. foreign development aid for 90 days pending review. It says U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday ordered a 90-day pause in foreign development assistance pending assessments of efficiencies and consistency with his foreign policy. All departments and agency heads with responsibility for United States foreign development assistance programs shall immediately pause new obligations and disbursements of development assistance funds, read the executive order signed by Trump just hours after he took office for a second term. Says it was not immediately clear how broad the order was and what programs, countries, non-governmental organizations, and international organizations will be affected by the move. It was also unclear what funding could be cut, given the U.S. Congress sets the federal U.S. government budget. The executive order echoes a return to the approach Trump took during his first term in office between 2017 and 2021. So let's continue here. It says he first came to power proposing to cut to about a third of U.S. diplomacy and aid budgets, which includes steep reductions in funding UN peacekeeping and international organizations, but Congress pushed back. So, then at the annual gathering of world leaders, United Nations 2018, Trump complained that the U.S. was the largest foreign aid donor, but few gave anything to us. That's why we're taking a hard look at U.S. foreign assistance. Moving forward, we will only going to give foreign aid to those who respect us and frankly are our friends. So this is basically what is happening with Trump hitting the ground running. There's another point that I want to share here, talking about Trump's day one executive orders. I want to get into that as well. This is actually an article out of the Associated Press. So let's get into this right here. All right. So what are his priorities? So first, one of the things he did was pardon the January 6th U.S. Capitol attack. So he pardoned about 1,500 people convicted of criminally charged by the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol as Congress convened to certify Biden's 2020 victory over Trump. So that's one of the things he did. He said in a made-for-TV display at Capital One Arena on Monday evening, Trump signed a largely symbolic memorandum that he described as directing every federal agency to combat consumer inflation by repealing Biden actions and adding his own orders. Trump is easing regulatory burdens on oil and natural gas production, something he promises will bring down the cost of all consumer goods. Trump is specifically targeting Alaska for expanded fossil fuel production. So this is actually going to be something that is going to be, hard, especially for the indigenous population, because of course they were already upset about the Willow Project being, approved by Joe Biden. So Donald Trump being part of this, expansion of oil drilling and fossil fuel production, this is going to make it a much harder and uphill battle for the indigenous water protectors and land protectors that are trying to preserve the environment. It says on trade, the president said he expects to impose a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico starting February 1st, but declined to flesh out his plans for taxing Chinese imports. Here's the thing, like I said, a tariff is just a type of tax that's placed on, the consumer. So of course they're going to pass that tax, that cost on to people like you. And there's a lot of things that are also produced in Mexico. For instance, car parts. A lot of car parts are actually produced in Mexico. So next time you need a part for a car, if it's a lot significantly higher, well, you're going to have Trump to thank for that too. And the thing is like a lot of these tariffs are already in place under Biden. So really, it's just a carryover from the Biden administration. So you're starting to see the similarities between Trump and Biden. The lines are becoming more and more blurred, as we can see here. But let's continue here. It says Trump also signed an order intended to pause Congress's TikTok ban for 75 days, a period in which the president says he will seek a U.S. buyer and a deal that could protect national security interests while leaving the popular social media platform open to Americans. So, of course, like I said earlier, this is basically just Donald Trump setting the fire like he did in order to have the TikTok ban years ago. And then he set the fire. Then he told Joe Biden, hey, that house is, that's burning. It should be demolished. So then Joe Biden takes the gasoline, puts it further on the fire, causing that fire to burn. And then what does Donald Trump do? He puts on, a fireman's hat and grabs a water hose and then puts out the fire and says, see, I actually put the fire out. And then everybody's clapping for him, saying, yay, you put the fire out, when in reality, let's be honest, truth be told, Donald Trump was the one who started the fire in the first place, purposefully. And so this just goes to show the person who was like Donald Trump. And so let's continue in this as well. America First, it says, as he did during his first administration, Trump is pulling the U.S. out of the World Health Organization. He also ordered a comprehensive review of U.S. foreign aid spending. Both moves fit into his more isolationist America First approach to international affairs. In more symbolic moves, Trump planned to sign an order renaming the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf America, and then Mount McKinley from Mount Denali, of course. That is silly to me, but it's something that he wants to do. It said Trump signed an order that flags must be at full height at every future inauguration day. The order came because former President Jimmy Carter's death had prompted flags to be at half staff. Trump demanded that they be moved up Monday. Another Trump order calls for promoting beautiful federal civic architecture. Sorry. Immigration and national security. Trump reversed several immigration orders from Biden's presidency, including one that narrowed deportation priorities to people who commit serious crimes, are deemed national security threats, or who stop at the border. It returns the government to Trump's first term policy that everyone in the country illegally is a priority for deportation. The president declared a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border as he plans to send U.S. troops to help support immigration agents to restrict refugees and asylum. Trump is trying to end birthright citizenship. It is unclear, though, whether his order will survive inevitable legal challenges since birthright citizenship is enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. He temporarily suspended the U.S. refugee admission program, pending a review to assess the program's public safety and national security implications. So, yeah. So meanwhile, and of course, we just talked about the CBP1 app, and he just ended that. It says the president revoked any active security clearances from a long list he perceived as enemies, including from former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, Leon Panetta, and former CIA Defense Secretary and his own former National Security Advisor, John Bolton. This part is interesting. He is going to be, he's revoking security clearance for John Bolton. That is hilarious. So, Walrus ain't getting, past him again. So, John Bolton was a neocon, boy. Let me tell you, John Bolton was a bastard. So I find that kind of funny. Of course, climate and energy, he's going to be drilling, crazy. And then overhaul, government bureaucracy, the Department of Government Efficiency, and then basically rolling back DEI and transgender rights as well. And so, of course, this is all the things that he's doing on day one. Now, some things I gotta say. Just to conclude with this is I think it's safe to say that the next 4 years is going to be rough for many people. What some aren't expecting is that it's going to be rough on the people who support Trump as well. His devotion to the corporations and power brokers who screw over workers, when that happens, we have to be there to show them that a better system is possible. Like Biden, Trump will fool the people, and then more Americans will be in a worse place. But this means it is now the time to build class consciousness. No amount of just voting is going to save us. No amount of wishing. We have to get out there and do the work and organize in our communities. This is how we survive and help our neighbors. Be prepared. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.